But I did not know that I, along with everyone else on the planet, would soon find myself unable to travel to international destinations. As the car drove past Parque Mexico, I said goodbye to my peaceful week in our rental apartment in the quiet neighborhood of La Condesa, and I braced myself for the year to come. Shortly after I arrived home in New York, I started feeling the effects of a strange illness, so serious that it left me contemplating my own mortality. For several days, I left the door of my Harlem apartment locked but unlatched in case a friend with a key needed to rescue and transport me to the hospital. With the aid of the internet, I self-diagnosed my condition as everything from cancer to Montezuma's revenge. But I stubbornly refused to see a doctor because I had forgotten to renew my health insurance on the Affordable Care Act exchange. I would be without coverage until February 1st. I blame myself for becoming so distracted with the impeachment coverage that I forgot to take care of my own needs. Surely my self-indulgent vacation was the root cause of my sickness, I thought, and I hoped a quick detox and convalescence would cure me. It took 2 weeks for my condition to improve, but it would take another 2 months before I would suspect a more alarming explanation for what had happened, that I might have been afflicted with a strange new virus that the world would soon come to know intimately. During those days of rest and recovery, I also dreaded the exhaustion the next 12 months would bring. I expected that 2020 would be dominated by 2 stories, an impeachment trial in January and a presidential election in November. And I knew how demanding both of those experiences could be. Only 3 U.S. presidents had been impeached in history. I had lived through 2 of those impeachments, and I remembered how the previous Senate trial consumed the nation for 5 weeks in the winter of 1999. I also remembered that even the most routine election is a monumental undertaking. Having worked on half a dozen political campaigns as an activist and covered 6 presidential campaigns as a journalist, I thought I knew exactly what to expect. The caucuses, the primaries, the rallies, the conventions, the debates, and the campaign ads, all conducted at the lightning-fast speed of an unrelenting news cycle. What I did not know was that the country was about to experience a dramatic convulsion. 4 cataclysmic crises were about to converge at once. First, we would be thrust into a deadly public health emergency worse than any outbreak since the flu epidemic of 1918. At the same time, we would plunge into an economic crisis more disruptive than any recession since the Great Depression began in 1929. Third, a racial justice movement would emerge larger than any since the protests after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968. And finally, we would end the year in a crisis of democracy unlike anything seen in America since the disputed presidential election of 1876. This was not just a once-in-a-century confluence of events, it was a unique moment in our history. 4 gigantic tectonic plates would shift at the same time in America, putting into grave doubt the health of our people, the stability of our economy, the safety of our most vulnerable citizens, and the survival of our democracy. The result would shake the foundation of our nation. Of course, these crises were not simply the fallout of one epic year. They were the outgrowth of a longer national history of a broken healthcare system, an unfair economic structure, the failure to remedy centuries-old constitutional flaws, and most threatening of all, the perpetuation of white supremacy. Yet at some level, they all had to do with race. This book examines the politics of our darkening America in 3 parts. In Part 1, I discuss the 4 crises of 2020 and how they led to the Capitol insurrection of 2021. In Part 2, I go back in time to explore America's racist political history and the realignment of the 2 dominant political parties from the Reconstruction era to the present. And in Part 3, I propose ideas to move forward. I argue that the problem of racism in American politics transcends specific political parties and leaders. From the end of Reconstruction in 1877 until the Civil Rights Act of 1964, both major political parties failed black people. The Republican Party of Abraham Lincoln reneged on its promise to protect African Americans, while the racist Democratic Party of Andrew Jackson